window if you can hear me over the loud music. Good morning.
Why do you think people watch your videos?
One unique thing about my channel is that I'm a black female living in China. I stick out.
Somebody out there who wants to start a YouTube channel, they might be abroad or even back home, what would your advice be?
Make content on YouTube that you
So from teaching in China full-time to being a part-time YouTuber here in China, would you say part-time?
I would say part-time, yeah.
Part-time. It hasn't taken over your whole life.
No, yeah.
Where did you come up with the idea of starting a YouTube channel?
I've always loved watching YouTube, especially vlogs. I consume vlogs all the time. And so the original reason was because I wanted to show my life here to my friends and family back home, because I'm sure you know this as well. It's so difficult trying to explain.
People always ask me, what's it like? What are you doing? What's life like
and
there?
you're trying to explain what something looks like or what it, the perspective of things. It's very hard to visualize. That was initially what I wanted to do. I wanted to show them like what my apartment looked like, and besides just a FaceTime call, I wanted to just share it with friends and family back home and to kind of document my experience as well, because originally when I moved here I was just going to be doing it for maybe 1 year, so I wanted to document my travels and everything. So yeah, that was originally the reason.
And you started in what year?
The end of 2015.
So really from day one pretty much when you first arrived in China?
I would say like the end of my first semester of teaching.
What's it like to be a YouTuber / China vlogger?
Maybe you experience this as well. A lot of the kind of consumable China YouTube, because obviously YouTube is not an app or popular thing for actual Chinese people in China. So a lot of the people consuming China content on YouTube are outside of China, and there's an overall perspective of what China's like, and whether it be about politics or policies and things. So I think a lot of the times people are searching for kind of hard-hitting news moments and things, and less about just like the daily life. And so I think, it's a little bit different, kind of just showing normal life here, maybe when people aren't really expecting that when it comes to China content.
I mean, I'm sure there is that type of content, it's just not on our channels.
Yes, exactly.
So if you want, you skip to another channel. Which brings me to my next question. Your channel tell us a little bit more about what the type of content that you create.
A lot about me, but just about my life here, Lauren's China life, and just how normal our lives as expats can be in China, as well as like the great things and the kind of the perks that we have here. And
as a foreigner or as a teacher?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. But she has lots of classes. She's telling me.
I have 6 lessons.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Whereas I only have 1 or 2. And my experience here, and I think a big part of me starting to show how normal, and I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you live in China? Like, that's so crazy. And it's like, it can be, but it's
actually not that crazy.
Yeah.
These days, you can live anywhere. As long as you get out of your own comfort zone, I always say. Like, you explore, the world is huge.
Exactly.
What is your goal for your YouTube channel?
I don't think I'll ever go full-time, but I think I love sharing my experiences with people. I think a lot of people that watch my channel are either people that used to live here, people that want to maybe come live here in the future, or they're just kind of like me. Like for me, the YouTube that I consume is always like people that have a completely different life than me, but then you kind of have relatable moments about things. That's kind of what I'm sharing my experience in my life here of like, me eating noodles and like, like the ridiculousness that I'm seeing on the street sometimes, or, the everyday.
Daily vlogging sometimes is one, and weekend vlogging.
So just sharing that and kind of growing a community. I have a lot of internet friends, I guess. I love internet communities, and so I think that's kind of the goal I have, is just to kind of continue building that. A nice community of people,
Why do you think people watch your videos? What's your unique selling point?
One unique thing about my channel is that I'm a black female living in China. I stick out a lot. That's one thing. I think also I'm a vlogger, but I'm not necessarily a travel vlogger where I'm like, doing these amazing like expeditions and things. Like I'm just living my normal life. I just happen to live in a foreign country, and that can kind of seem exotic. I think that something is just the kind of expat life is not something that's highly, I guess, available on social media. Usually it's a lot of travel content. So I think something unique about me is that I'm just living my very raw and awkward life, waking up in China every morning.
So what is your advice for newbies like me on YouTube? Somebody out there who wants to start a YouTube channel, they might be abroad or even back home, what would your advice be?
Make content on YouTube that you actually like making, because it's really hard doing something where you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, or if you don't get excited about it, then it kind of shows, Exactly. And so it's like definitely, talking about things that you're actually curious and like passionate about it comes across on screen. So that's always the advice, and do it what you like.
Growing from 0 to 1,000 subscribers, that's I think apparently what I've researched and what people are saying. This is actually the toughest part.
Yes.
Is going from 0 to 1,000 subscribers. So what would your advice be?
Engage with the people that are engaging with you. Lots of actually talk to the people through the screen, which I think you do such a good job of. I think sometimes you don't actually see the people on the other side of the camera, because as someone that watches a lot of YouTube, I'm like, oh, they're talking to me, and so just engaging. Reach through the camera.
Speaking to you.
I feel like it's kind of weird at first, because you're like, I'm asking them questions that they're not going to hear until months down the road, weeks. So, but lots of engaging, all of that.
So my background is like TV and stuff. So it's normal to me to speak to the camera. That's normal. What isn't normal is daily vlogging, which is what I admire about this one here. She just daily vlogs. It's raw. It's like, yes, this is me. I just woke up and this is what I look like, and I love it. I just wish I had that sort of, this confidence.
Yes.
I'm not there yet. I guess my other question would be, how do you balance working full-time as an English teacher but also YouTubing at the same time? YouTubing, is that right? YouTubing?
I think so, yeah. For me, I have to, strike when the iron's hot? Is that a phrase?
Yeah.
When I've got that kind of motivation, that's the time for me to kind of bulk create. Batch create, there we go.
Batch create?
Yeah, and try to kind of, because I try to upload weekly. Oh, we've got you think it's okay? I would say definitely managing of time. When I have the motivation, energy, and the time to do it, is to kind of batch create, and then I try to kind of space those out weekly with whenever I'm uploading. For me, I have a lot of free time, so I try to use my
wisely.
Yes, lots of time management. Yeah, trying to get better about it. But
and you're a month in advance, right? Your content.
I try to be, yeah.
And it doesn't get in the way of your actual full-time job at all?
No, I think what's helpful about vlogging is I'm just vlogging my life, so I can vlog about what my job is going on and stuff like that. So
overall, what's been your life lessons so far? I mean, you're still very young.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're old at all.
No,
but yeah, you've definitely lived probably a much more an interesting life outside of our home countries. So what would you say your biggest life lessons have been so far?
I had a friend tell me this of no one's actually caring about you, no one's looking at you. And this, I think a lot of times we can feel about whether it be, we're walking down the street, people staring at you because you're a foreigner in China, or just being self-conscious about things, being in a new country or a new environment, new coworkers, an expat community. I used to be very self-conscious about everyone's aware of me and everyone's aware of the weird thing I think I'm doing, or even with YouTube, it's oh, you're overthinking something with editing. And so I think just being a little bit more carefree with things like that, and no one actually cares about it more than you do, so don't worry about it.
You know your mistakes.
Exactly.
And what's the most challenging thing you've overcome so far in life?
I think for me, is something I'm still trying to get better at, is for someone that I'm here by myself without my family from back home. So having to really learn my own independence and be okay with that independence, and not kind of self-conscious about it, being here by myself or being so far away from family. And I think a big part of that is learning better communication and just maintaining of relationships. I've had to learn a lot about maintaining and building relationships here. Expat communities are very transient, so I think a lot of having to learn that.
And what are your life goals and ambitions? What's next for you? Are you still happy to stay in China? Are you thinking Are there opportunities to maybe work abroad elsewhere?
Definitely, I want to possibly stay in within education, but outside of classroom teaching, it's draining. It's a lot. Classroom management is a lot. So I love the social aspect of it, but I don't always loving having to like teach and like instill specific knowledge in students because it's not always fun. Possibly something within education, but outside of classroom teaching, and maybe opportunities, whether in China or outside, that would allow me to kind of be more transient and move from place to place more often than I am now.
Interesting. Well, it doesn't matter because we can still follow you wherever you go through your YouTube channel. I guess my final question, and I ask this to all of my guests to wrap up the interviews, but who has impacted you the most or inspired you the most? It could be in a small or big way that you want to shout out to.
Yeah, sounds very cheesy, but my students, so much of what I've learned about China, Chinese people, Chinese culture, Chinese food has been from my students. It's a very cross-learning experience.
Yeah.
I have, hundreds of students that I'm able to communicate back and forth with that are Chinese, and I think that's not always possible with just going about in our daily life. So that's been very cool, like a great learning experience and very impactful for me. After 7 years, sometimes I think I really know it all, and I'm like, I've got it down pat. I have nothing left to learn. And it's always kind of nice being able to have students that are young and kind of like they're young enough that and I'm young as well, they can feel like they can relate to me and talk to me. And so that's always really nice being able to hear their perspectives about things. They keep me young, and just hearing about what it's life of teenager life, but also like teenager life in China is always really interesting. So
can I just also mention this because I had the opportunity to help out at a classroom one time. It was a media day and I was asked to help out. Actually, I think they were like 6 to 8 year olds.
Like primary school?
Primary school, yes. I was there for maybe 2-3 hours and I was knocked out. They were so energetic, but they also took out all my energy. They literally sucked it out of me. And I was knackered, as we like to say back home. I was completely knackered. And I was like, wow, how do teachers do this day in, day out? I do not know. So ever since then, I had this humongous respect for every single teacher out there. So it's not Teachers Day, I don't think, today, but this is definitely going out to all the teachers out there. I shout out to every single one of you. You are not only making a huge impact in these kids' lives, but also to their futures. I just had to say that. So massive respect to you as well, Lauren. And thank you so much for joining and speaking to us. And hopefully this won't be the last one.
Oh, definitely not. Yes,
and maybe you'll see me in one of our upcoming YouTube videos.
Yes, you will.
Well. But thank you. I hope you've learned something, and I hope this was informative for you. But thank you so much for watching. This has been again Jenny with Lauren here on Journey with Jenny. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.